everyone, Jen from Modified Macros here, and today we are going to be talking about the 5 biggest keto mistakes that you are making to hinder your results and how to fix them. Okay, let's jump in. I'm going to start at number 5 and work my way down to number 1. So number 5 is hidden carbs. And if you're just starting keto and that sounds daunting to you that there are carbs hidden in every single food, don't let it be that way. But it is important that you are looking for them because they can be pesky little guys that hide in food that we think is keto friendly. For example, bacon or beef jerky. Sometimes they use sugar or fillers. You need to make sure that you're reading the labels for those. Even shredded cheese can have traces of carbohydrates in it that you aren't aware of that they use so that it doesn't cake together. It is so important that you are checking labels, especially when you are first starting, to make sure that there aren't hidden carbs. But as a good rule of thumb, if you're always choosing non-processed, whole foods, you will most likely not have to worry about finding hidden carbs. You already know what the ingredients are in a piece of cauliflower, and it's cauliflower. But vegetables can also be one of those things too. Because vegetables are considered a healthy food, we don't often think that there are hidden carbs in them, especially if they are keto friendly. But what I mean by that is watching your portion size. Things like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and green beans that are completely okay to have on the ketogenic diet. When the serving size isn't monitored, you're in for a problem. Sometimes just even doing an extra helping of broccoli can add 7 to 8 net carbs to your daily intake. So it's really important that when you are eating vegetables, you are tracking your macros, especially when you're first starting and getting to know what your portion sizes should look like. Another place I found hidden carbs were in supplements and vitamins. I actually had 7 net carbs in my multivitamins that I was taking that I didn't even know was in there. So make sure you check your labels and really be cognizant about what you're putting in your body, especially when you're first starting, because those hidden carbs can give hiccups along the way. Number 4 is not being patient enough. And I'm gonna do this in 2 parts. First, not being patient enough with getting fat adapted. You guys, getting fat adapted is absolutely crucial to your success on the ketogenic diet. You will not succeed with this lifestyle if you do not allow yourself to get fat adapted. It can take people somewhere between 30 to 60 days for that to happen, and you're not going to start seeing or feeling the full results of the ketogenic diet until you're there. And if you're one of those stubborn-bodied people where it takes that full 60 days, I understand that it can be frustrating, but you need to give it time. Don't eye the scale every single day wondering why every day you're not losing 10 pounds. It's consistency. That's where you win in keto. You have to stay consistent, and being fat adapted takes time. You just spent however many years of your life being carbohydrate and glucose adapted, and now you are asking your body to completely switch the gears in reverse and go into a different metabolic state. It takes time. Your body has to get used to it, and while it is getting used to it, you might suffer from keto flu, which is symptoms kind of like having a bad hangover without any of the fun beforehand. You'll have some nausea, you'll have some headaches. There are some ways to alleviate those symptoms, but you need to be patient and get through it. Keto flu can last anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. Again, it depends on how quickly your body adjusts to being fat adapted, but you need to be patient with it and allow it to do its process. You have to let your body adapt, because once it does, I promise you guys, it is worth every single second of it. Number 3. This one you guys are going to hear a lot while you're in your ketogenic journey, so I really want to explain it to you, and that is too much protein. ketogenic diet, it is extraordinarily important that you keep it at a moderate protein level. And I know the internet is full of lots of people telling you lots of different things like fat is a lever, only eat to be full, your body will use its own fat, protein is your most important macro. And when you start hearing those, you might start to think, okay, I'm gonna do a high fat, high protein, or I'm going to do a lower fat, high protein. When you get into that ratio, when your macros shift like that, now you are ingesting too much protein, and your liver will break it down and use the protein that it needs, and the excess protein, because it's too high of an amount that you need for the day, is going to get broken down into sugar. That sugar is what your body is going to prefer to run off of. It will stop being in ketosis and it will go right back to running off that glucose until that glucose is used up. So trying to do a high protein, high fat, or a high protein, low fat, and low carb and still trying to say it's keto, it's not. It is extraordinarily important that in keto, you have a high fat, moderate protein. And even when you get into the area where maybe you're a bodybuilder or you work out a lot, you will always notice that your macros will be a 1-to-1 ratio with protein, because it is so important that your protein does not exceed your fat in keto for it to work. There are a host of other problems that can come along with a higher protein diet, such as some cardiologists really go against it. There's a very popular article going around right now about that. It is important that you keep it at moderate protein. It will hinder your results if you eat too much. So hit your protein macro, but make sure that you are still keeping your fats up there. Number 2, water and electrolytes. And I am putting these two together because they do go hand in hand. When you are on the ketogenic diet, electrolytes will now become your best friend, and water is a close number 2. Whatever you were drinking before keto, I want you to make sure you are doubling it. That 8 cups a day no longer applies to you. You want to drink more. When your body is going through the ketosis process, when your body is using fat for energy and it's breaking down fat cells, those cells will fill up with water and then they'll deflate. And when they do that, your body and your kidneys, they're working really hard to push all that water out of your system. And while it's doing that, you're gonna find that you are going to the bathroom more frequently and that you are a lot more thirsty. You will feel dehydration quicker and easier during this process. It is really important that you keep yourself hydrated. Electrolytes are a part of keeping yourself hydrated, and a lot of times when people are on keto, they feel like, especially when they're first starting, that they might have low blood sugar symptoms, but it's actually electrolytes that make you feel that way. You might be lightheaded, you might have some fatigue, you might be a little nauseated. It feels a lot like, dizzy, you might see some spots. That is not blood sugar. Your body, once it has converted onto keto, is no longer looking for sugar like that. It's not an insulin thing. It is actually electrolytes. And 9 times out of 10, when people come to me and my group about it, and we suggest electrolytes and they take some, they drink some bone broth, or they take some electrolyte supplements, or they eat something that's high in these electrolytes, they feel better. When you are first starting keto, make sure that you are incorporating these into your diet. It is critical. So potassium is one that you want to make sure you're getting enough of. Spinach, avocado, salmon, coconut water, those are just some examples of where you can get it. Magnesium, you've got chard, pumpkin seeds, spinach, almonds, avocados. Even a small square of dark chocolate, you guys, will be a good thing for magnesium. That helps keep you regular. It helps with sleep patterns. That is an important one. Calcium's often overlooked. People usually just do potassium, magnesium, and sodium, but for me, calcium, I still find it important. I like to make sure that I'm getting enough, so I do kale, broccoli, bok choy cheese, a lot of the whole dairy products that you're eating on keto. Unsweetened almond milk will have higher calcium amounts in it. And then sodium, which you can get by just salting your food or having salt in your water. You can go out and buy electrolyte supplements. Be very careful. Read what is in them. A lot of them have sugar, and sometimes it doesn't even seem like they are going to have a lot, or you see one that looks good and you pick it up and the main ingredient is beet sugar and that's where you're getting your hydration from. There are some really great keto brands that are loved because they're low carb and there's no sugar in them, but really make sure that you are looking at the sugar and carb content in those electrolytes. You can take over-the-counter supplements. Those are pretty available and easy to find. Magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sodium. You don't really need a supplement for. You can take exogenous ketones. That's my personal choice for this. I take them for a lot of reasons besides all the cognitive effects they have. It helps with all of my keto flu symptoms. My keto flu went away immediately when I started taking them, and it has always leveled me out. I haven't had to take any electrolyte supplements since I have been taking my exogenous ketones. So that is my preferred electrolyte. The number one biggest mistake that you will make on keto that can completely hinder your results is not choosing the right types of fat. In keto, not all fat is created equal. And I know, again, the internet is full of all of these recipes and you think it's just gonna be butter and bacon and cheese 24/7, cheeseburgers every day. And it is not. That is not how to do a ketogenic diet the healthy way. You want to be choosing the correct types of saturated fats. You want to be making sure that you are choosing less processed fats. You want to make sure that you are choosing unsaturated fats as much as possible. And that is where people make a huge mistake that can completely hinder your process. It's not only going to hinder weight loss, but it can hinder your health. And people will sometimes go back to their doctors and have some of their numbers go up and they say, I don't know why, I've been eating all this bacon, I've been eating all this cheese, I've been following keto, I've been low carb, and it's because you're not picking the right fats. You need to be aware of that. And I call it, in my group, I tell all the time, we are always saying, be intentional with your fats. Do not eat fat just to eat fat. I almost never get my main fat source from meat. So I don't eat a lot of bacon. I only have it once in a while, just like I would on a normal, like, clean eating program. I will choose a leaner ham with no nitrates, something like that in its place. I choose a lot of natural trans fats found in grass-fed meats, game meats. I use a lot of grass-fed, that's the only type of steak that I'll eat is grass-fed steak. You want to, I don't want you guys to think to go out and get the fattiest cuts of meat you can find, the fattiest burger that you can find. I still eat lean meats. And I do that because from a cardiovascular standpoint, from a cholesterol standpoint, that is what you want to do. I add unsaturated fats or healthy fats to my meats. So a lot of times I'll add extra virgin olive oil. I'll have tacos and I will top made with lean turkey, and then I'll top it with avocado. And there's my healthy fat, right? I'll use avocado oil as much as possible, and olive oil in cooking, like I said. For dressings, I'll make sure that olive oil is one of those bases for when I'm having, vegetables, stuff like that. I will still use ghee and butter and lard and cream and coconut oil, but I use those things, sparingly. You're only supposed to have, I think cardiologists recommend, like 10% of your fats come from saturated fats. And in the ketogenic diet, I think that a lot of times we don't pay as much attention to it. We think the fattier, the better. A lot of people choose processed fats, like vegetable oils, and they don't even realize it, that come in some commercial foods, that come in, people are eating lots of cheese and cream cheese and dairy, and they're like, I'm hitting my fat macros, but you're not being intentional with that fat, and that can cause problems down the line. It is extremely important that you remain on top of what types of fat you are choosing. It can hinder your weight loss, it can hinder your health goals, it can cause flare-ups, it can have a carcinogenic effect on your body. You want to make sure that you're choosing intentional fats. Your body will run better, you will get better results. So fats that you want the, in red meat, make sure it's grass-fed. You guys, we don't say grass-fed just because we want to be fancy or to be extra. It's grass-fed because it's what's going into the cows. In the meat industry, they can say no antibiotics ever used, and what that means is no antibiotics were used on the animal. It doesn't mean that there was no antibiotics in the food. So you want to make sure that they're grass-fed. It's healthier, it's better for you, you will get better results. It's why they prefer grass-fed butter. It's why we always say, if you can do Kerrygold, please do it. It is because it will help you in the long run. It will help you with that keto consistency. You will feel better, you will look better. You want to use coconut oil. Eggs are a great source of fat that you are not really worrying about those bad fats. It's full of good cholesterols. Extra virgin olive oil, avocados, macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts are a great source, you guys, of good fats. Omega-3s found in fish, fish oil, flaxseed, chia seeds. Make sure you don't want the omega-6, you guys. So if there's a lot of legumes or nuts that have those, you want to make sure that you're either having them in very small portions or steering clear of them altogether. But choosing the right fat is important, so make sure that you are being intentional. So those are my 5 biggest mistakes that you can make on the ketogenic diet. It's what I have seen in my group. There are thousands of us now in my group who are working together to have the best keto life that we can possibly live. You can always stop by and join me there. I do have meal plans, I do have lists of all of these things I've said, and I will be there personally to help you. If you guys have any questions, please drop it in the comments and I will get back to you.